Ripple, a new stablecoin backed by the US dollar, now available to trade. Would you use Ripple to pay for things?
It's not going to do much for retail, and it likely won't be integrated into the payment economy for some time, if ever. At first, it might be best for facilitating cross-border payments. Think institutional support, since it is a stablecoin. It has a one-to-one backing with the US dollar that allows it to essentially bridge the gap between digital asset and traditional finance. It could be seen as attractive to banks and businesses involved in cross-border payments and remittances. It allows for a faster settlement time. I was talking to Eleanor Terrett. She knows everything crypto here at Fox Business. She says if you look at Ripple's advisory board, you have bigwigs on there like the former FDIC chair, Sheila Bair, so they're looking to add legitimacy to it.
Mike, I just don't see cryptos as a medium of exchange. You know, we're not going to buy and sell things with crypto.
We've talked about it for years that Bitcoin would be used that way. It hasn't as of yet. It's still managed to go up, but I don't see a world anytime soon where we're using that to buy and sell things.
Massive update as Ripple's team confirms RLUSD benefits the XRP Ledger. And as you guys can tell, Fox Business is having difficulty conceptualizing just how this new product can be used. We're going to dispel a lot of those fake rumors today. And they did say something factual at the end of the clip, Johnny. They said Bitcoin's been trying to do this for years, and I don't think it's going to happen. I agree. Bitcoin will never be used as a medium of exchange, but products like the XRP Ledger absolutely will be. And after watching today's show, our community is going to have a deep and fundamental understanding of why the RLUSD stablecoin will inevitably benefit the price of XRP. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Good Evening Crypto, your favorite crypto news related channel. And today is going to be a very exciting episode as we see some bearish momentum come into the market, Johnny. We're going to double down on the fundamentals that I believe will bring this asset from $3 to $5 to $8 and north of $10 before it's all said and done. 20 different XRP ETF applications, tokenized gold and silver on the ledger today. We've got the Evernorth Treasury launching on the NASDAQ in early 2026. We also have the Clarity Act only 4 weeks away from being approved, according to COINBASE CEO Brian Armstrong. And the icing on the cake will be videos like this. Media outlets like Fox Business, CNN, and MSNBC becoming some of the largest pro-crypto advocates here inside the United States, inevitably bringing us into that bull market that we've all been waiting for. And I wanted to kick off today's episode with a very brief video from Raoul Pal telling our listeners, don't be scared out of this crypto market. Double down on what you understand.
Seasonality. We're at a really good point in the seasonality chart. You would imagine that we are now diverging from this because of the Treasury General Account and the government shutdown. Once that comes back in, we start climbing the curve to the end of the year. Does it start in November and we play catch up? Either way, we should have a back end of the year that's very strong. And in the end, you'll have forgotten all about this shit. Much like we told you in April 2024, September 24, April 25. I mean, it's all the same shit. You forget about it after a while.
Well, Johnny Crypto, we are going to break down the main topic of today's episode, which is how Ripple's team has confirmed RLUSD was launched to benefit the XRP Ledger. We're going to show our listeners several different videos from both Brad Garlinghouse and sitting President Monica Long that highlight this in a way that nobody can misunderstand. You can't misconstrue this information. The intention behind RLUSD is to build more DeFi and more volume on the XRP Ledger, but that's not where it ends. 20 different XRP ETF applications. We have the Clarity Act set to be approved, which is going to onboard billions of new users into the crypto market. I think people are overly bearish, and I wouldn't want our listeners to fall into the trap that I've seen 1,000 times before, where, as you know, we had close friends last October who sold all their XRP right before that 400% pump in November. If you guys are holding your XRP, regardless of what happens, smash that like button. And one thing I can absolutely promise you, Johnny Crypto and myself, we will be on that journey with you guys. But Johnny, before we dive into the RLUSD news, what's your overall analysis on this XRP update?
I don't know what its definition of anytime soon is, but there's no question about it that these technologies have already been trialed by companies. We know that they're looking at these technologies. We know that, I mean, there's patents that go back 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. Bank of America has been looking at it. Companies are already working on leveraging and figuring out how to work this technology into their back-end systems. It's going to run on that blockchain, and that blockchain is going to benefit. Value is going to be added on that blockchain that drives the price up. And that's why I could care less what they say, because we all know what's coming the blockchains are coming to back-end systems.
And Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong confirmed this earlier today, Johnny. After meeting with senators in Washington, D.C., he said they are 90% of the way there for getting this Clarity Act passed before Thanksgiving of 2025. That is less than 5 weeks away. And if we get that clarity here in the American markets, we are going to see adoption ramp up in a way that we've never seen before. I'm constantly reminded of the statements that were put out by Charles Hoskinson back in the day, where he said the moment the Clarity Act is approved, you will see 3 billion new users onboarded into the crypto space. Keep that in mind as we go through the remainder of today's episode. But here's where we start to break it down, guys. Ripple team has confirmed RLUSD was built to benefit XRP. And we're going to kick off today's episode with a video of Brad Garlinghouse being asked the very simple question. With RLUSD being launched, what does this mean for XRP going forward?
What does this mean for XRP? Do the two work in tandem, or does the stablecoin supplant XRP's utility?
We are 100% behind the growth and development of the XRP Ledger and the health of that market, that ecosystem. We think having a stablecoin built on the XRP Ledger actually adds liquidity to the XRP Ledger. We already have been using stablecoins in our payment flows, so this is just kind of a natural extension. We'll continue to absolutely prioritize XRP, but there's times and places where our customers want to see US dollar to US dollar using a Ripple stablecoin. We think makes sense in those flows.
And Johnny Crypto, we've talked about this several times, that when Ripple initially launched their business model to offer on-demand liquidity to banks, both inside of America and outside, the number one problem that Ripple ran into when pitching this idea to US banks was they did not want to move away from the US dollar. So what Ripple did is they created a solution here. By launching the RLUSD stablecoin, they're now going to have the benefit of being pegged to the value of the US dollar while receiving the technological evolution that a blockchain product can offer. And the RLUSD stablecoin is really giving these banks the best of both worlds. But that's not where it ends from the strong statements out of Brad Garlinghouse. Here's what else he had to say about why they launched RLUSD.
Two things come to mind, like big events. I'll save the bigger one for the second. But, you know, look, I think the stablecoin effort is a really important one. And I think Ripple has always taken the view that anything we can do that is good for the XRP Ledger, we're going to lean into. Bringing liquidity to the XRP Ledger is good for everyone in the community. And anytime I read it online or just somebody saying that Ripple somehow isn't committed to the XRP Ledger, I just think that they totally are missing it. Like, we're 100% committed to the XRP Ledger. We always will be. And we would only do a stable coin if we thought it was good for the XRP Ledger. But I think that's going to be an exciting step around the RLUSD.
And it is an exciting step, Johnny, because of all the reasons we've outlined. The RLUSD token was built to increase volume on the XRP Ledger. And by increasing volume, you're increasing demand with the exact same supply. That leads us to an inflection point like we've all been waiting for. And we think about all these different components that are really hitting the market all at once. We have the ETFs, we have the treasury companies, we have the stable coins, and the most undercovered narrative here, it's not tokenization. It is the EVM sidechain going live, allowing developers to build real DeFi ecosystems on the XRP Ledger for the first time ever. That just started this year. So there's plenty of exciting amendments that everybody should be aware of that are going to drive the XRP price higher. But when it comes to the conversation about RLUSD benefiting XRP, Brad just answered all those questions. It was built to benefit the XRP Ledger, and it will be driving more volume onto the network.
Liquidity is the most important thing, Abs. If you have no liquidity, your blockchain, your coin, everything dies. And so that's what they're trying to do. And they found a unique way to do it, right? Not only there was already liquidity on the XRP, on Ledger itself, through XRP, but why not add more vehicles to your own system? And that's what they're doing. And that's what RLUSD does. I mean, I love what Ripple's doing. They're basically building the ecosystem, literally, that they want to solve for by buying the companies, and then they're going to deploy their technologies in it. So you're going to see plenty of use cases, I think, from within the company of how they're going to deploy their XRP technology and also RLUSD. They're going to use both depending on the use cases. But the point being is, as you said, they're fully committed to it. You know why, Abs? Yeah, they own 40 billion of these things, or maybe 38 billion. They have a little bit of incentive to be excited to see this thing go up in price.
And Johnny, the most important part of this as well is that Ripple is due to receive a national banking charter here inside the United States. And the official deadline for that is only 7 days from today. Next Thursday, October 30th, the OCC 120-day deadline officially expires, and we should be getting a decision here on whether Ripple will receive a national banking charter inside the United States. You combine that with the fact that Ripple is already working with BNY Mellon, the official custodian here of the RLUSD stablecoin. And now the whole picture's coming together. And RLUSD is going to play a pivotal role. If you guys are enjoying this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. You're going to get 2 updates every single day here on Good Evening Crypto. But this is what Monica Long, sitting president at Ripple, had to say about RLUSD and XRP.
Does this create competition with XRP? Concerned that with this new stablecoin, folks will be less interested in XRP?
We see them as really complementary to one another. So dollars can be a very effective means for payments. And we have seen that demand from within our customer base. Over time, we facilitated north of $70 billion in cross-border transactions through our payment solutions. And we've already been using stablecoins as a part of that equation. XRP is really, it's the native asset to the blockchain. So it's used for things like transaction fees on the blockchain, but then also can be a bridge asset to, trading different tokens on the XRP Ledger. So we really see the two playing complementary roles.
Complementary roles. And that's what everybody should take away from Monica Long's response. But Johnny, with all this positive momentum set to hit the American markets, it is XRP that I believe will outperform. And what are we seeing from the capital markets right now? Hit pieces and fake news surrounding XRP is reaching an all-time high. And yesterday we saw an article published by Fortune that got a whole lot of attention, over 200,000 views. It was titled, "Ripple is branching out into mainstream finance, even as the purpose of its most valuable asset, XRP, remains unclear." And I'm not going to waste our listeners' time by going through this article, but if you just read the first couple of sentences, they're going to understand the tone. Ripple is a goofy business, said Fortune. With more than a decade now, the company has held vast quantities of magic beans known as XRP, which it dumps onto the open market at regular intervals. It's not clear why anyone needs these magic beans, but people buy them anyway, and that has made Ripple very rich. So rich that casually last week, Ripple spent $1 billion to buy a treasury management company called G Treasury. The question is, how much longer can Ripple keep its magic bean factory humming? Now, what's my main takeaway there, Johnny? First off, we were a stablecoin. We were an outcast. We were an unregistered security. Now we have clarity, we have mass adoption, and we have Ripple driving real world businesses onto the ledger. So they've spun that narrative and they said, these acquisitions, they come from a Ponzi scheme. Hey guys, look at the fundamentals of Bitcoin. Look at what's been developed all across the crypto space. Consensus owns 70% of Ethereum. 5 companies dominate all Bitcoin mining. Ripple having the majority share here for XRP, earning about 38 billion tokens in the escrow. Well, that is slowly being distributed over time. And as time continues to pass here for the XRP Ledger and the adoption of the stablecoin, Johnny, we are just going to see the XRP Ledger become more and more decentralized. Ripple is in the process every single month of offboarding that escrow and getting it into the hands of players who are going to use this asset for real world utility. Once the Clarity Act is passed, I'm anticipating sometime in late November, early December, the floodgates open, Wall Street shows up, and the same way they did this for Bitcoin when BlackRock had a product, they became a huge advocate. We're going to see this exact same process take place with altcoins, where the moment these institutions can profit off of these altcoin developments, they're going to become some of the largest cheerleaders in the space. And lucky for our community, we are all here before that very moment. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button. But Johnny Crypto, do you agree mainstream media is going to make this major swing?
Oh, there's no question about it, Abs. I mean, right now, they're poo-pooing and crapping all over it because obviously that's kind of maybe the direction or narrative that they're being told to push. We've seen this happen over and over in the space all the time. But if that was the case, then why are countries and companies taking the technology, testing the technology, using the technology in the background? And not only that, yes, I will give one true point to that article. Ripple did raise a lot of money off of the sale of XRP, and they're putting it to good use in buying companies and then leveraging their technology, i.e. the XRP Ledger and RLUSD, to demonstrate how it's going to work and make products cheaper, better. And you better believe that cheaper, better products, Abs, is what the world wants. It's what fuels every single stock company in the world. What do you think they talk about? The bottom line, profits and losses, right? That's what this is all about at the end of the day. My advice to all audiences, don't get hung up when you see these articles. Understand what the real motivation or agenda behind it is that's driving these things, and then go back to, did I invest in something that's going to change the world, that the future is going to run on?
So if you're looking to do the same strategies that we implement here on Good Evening Crypto, I would advise everybody sign up for Merlin and click on the I Trust Capital link below. Now, why did these two ideas play off one another? Merlin is going to allow our listeners to understand where they should be taking profit in this market, and I Trust is going to allow our listeners to take that profit tax-free through an IRA product. Now, that's not the best part about this. We are giving new clients a $100 sign-up bonus using the promo code GEC9. So I would encourage everybody, click on the link below the video, use promo code GEC9, and set yourself up for success during this crypto bull market. Well, you know what's interesting, guys? If we know this massive evolution in technology is on the precipice, it is the price action that will quickly follow. And I've been drawing this correlation, Johnny, to the Amazon price chart and what it did in the late 90s after the passing of the Telecom Act. Look at this run it had in the late 90s. So it went all the way up to about $5.50, 10 years trading down and sideways, very similar to XRP. When it finally broke its all-time high, back tested that range, it was off to the races for the next 12 years. And heading into this bull market, knowing that we're going to see massive price appreciation with the ETFs, with the Clarity Act, there are some major predictions circulating right now that deserve attention. And this is Canary Capital CEO stating he believes we could see $2 to $3 billion worth of inflows into XRP on day one of these ETFs being approved.
Yeah, well, that's what was it, like 3.2 billion in the first, 3 billion in one day. So the capacity there for an ETF of seeing in excess of 5 billion in a month for XRP, you feel is underreported.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's a very safe bet, in my opinion. I certainly think that. I mean, let's go kind of back in time when we launched Bitcoin futures when I was with another firm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first day there was over $1 billion in inflows, which made it at the time one of the top 10 of all time.
Yeah.
Second Bitcoin futures ETF to launch was still like number 14 of all time at 100 million. So, and that's just day one. So if you think what Bitcoin futures did, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if XRP outperforms what Bitcoin futures did. It's not going to have the same level as Bitcoin, obviously, right. But if it was $1 billion in one day, I mean, I think XRP does 2 or 3 billion day one.
Interesting. Well, and the performance of futures has been pretty significant.
Well, Johnny Crypto, with 20 different applications sitting at the SEC right now, that means 20 different products going live, competing for XRP on exchanges. We are going to see a supply shock at some point. The real question is, how high does the price go after that supply shock occurs? If you enjoyed today's episode, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you all in the next one.